Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope all of you are doing well, and today I wanted to go over the recent balance survey that I did for the Myo Mashup card game. Recently, as many of you know, I hosted a tournament, and that tournament has since concluded, and to follow it up, I wanted to assess people's feelings about the current state of the game, and so that led to the creation of this survey. And now that the survey's done, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for your responses, as well as go over what you guys had to say, and also maybe briefly discuss what we can do going forward to try to improve things for the upcoming format. So starting off, I asked the question of how you would rate your feelings toward the current state of the Myo Mashup TCG on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best, and most of you are at least pretty satisfied with the current state of the game. Maybe there are some things that you could see that would be improved upon, but overall, you guys seem pretty satisfied, which it makes me pretty happy too, so I'm glad to see that. A few of you were less favorable about how the tournament was conducted, so I asked a similar question on a similar scale, how you would rate the recent format for the tournament. About half people were kind of indifferent or didn't really care for it. And perhaps one thing, as one of the people who partook in the survey pointed out, I should have asked a follow-up question of actually asking what you didn't like about the tournament for those who didn't care for it as much. And perhaps next time I'm going to do that. I should have done that this go around. Instead, I followed it up with what sort of format would you like to see for Myo Mashup tournaments? And of the responses, most of you said you wanted me to try a Swiss bracket. A couple of you also wanted to try other formats like single elimination or King of the Hill. But I definitely want to try out some different formats for future tournaments. After all, this was my first time hosting a tournament for my own card game, and I'm always open to try to figure out new ways to have a tournament and try different things. Next was, what is your preferred method for dealing with problematic cards in a TCG? Most of you said to restrict the number of copies players can use, which includes bans. So like there would be some cards that are banned, some cards that are limited to one copy, etc., etc. I've had some responses say of issuing erratas, which is just changes to card text. One reason I don't like doing that is because I've had people who have bought the cards already, and I would hate to kind of make changes to the cards after they've been printed. If I'm going to make changes to card text, it would be during the playtesting period of a new set, so I can get those changed before the new set is up for sale, because I don't really like making changes after the set goes up for sale. I did make one exception with Not Too Tough Tim recently, but it's something I want to try to avoid if I can. No one really cared for the point system, so basically how that would have worked is that most cards would be 0 points, and some of the stronger cards would be worth a certain number of points, and then you could only have so many points in your deck. It would be kind of a roundabout way of doing like a sort of limiting system, but it wouldn't outright ban any of the cards. It would just kind of restrict you in how many of the more powerful cards you could use. But I think having like a traditional ban list makes a lot more sense. It's a lot easier to understand. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing for this game as well. Next, I asked about the assist mechanic. For those who don't know, assist is a mechanic where if another character you control attacks, the character with assist adds its attack to the attacking character for that turn. And a lot of you were kind of indifferent or didn't really care for it. And I kind of was also... This is kind of something I kind of saw coming, because as I was playing with the mechanic as well during the set, it was kind of hard to really... The more I played with it, the more I noticed it was kind of hard to really balance as it is written. And so to follow up the a question about assist, I asked for some ways to how you could change it, and some said it was good as is, but others made some suggestions like making the assist character only assist characters that were of the same type. Or other things I could do was maybe change assist to a specific boost or have conditions to activate assist. I definitely want to experiment with some of those ideas in the future. Like, I might, because it is kind of hard to really experiment with that particular mechanic as is. So, any ways to kind of mix it up would be kind of welcome. I haven't really added any characters with assist in the new set because I did have that sneaking suspicion it was a little too strong, so I kind of want to try to rework it for future sets and see what I can do there. Next, I asked you to provide responses with what you liked the most about the current state of the game. And a lot of you had instances where a lot of you said that you liked the variety of decks and how they played, which was good. I wanted to make sure there was enough variety in the set so that there were different play styles, and I'm glad you were able to notice that. Some of you also liked how the attacking works. I also kind of like how the attacking works in the games where you only attack with one character, and you kind of have to think about which characters you have to attack with, though that does kind of cause a few problems, as some of you kind of noticed in the follow-up question of this, which is what aspects you don't care for as much in the current state of the game. And I wanted to kind of go over those. So, like, one of these are like, well, I'll go over that in the next question, but some of the things that people dislike is the limited amount of card draw. There's not a lot of good ways to draw cards outside of Super Coin and Quick Draw. And there's also kind of some problems with there's too much single target removal as well, because you also have things like Burst Attack and the Steady Shot, as well as cards like Delta Warrior Blitz as well. All those critical cards, and that's kind of partially a thing that is my bad, because like I wanted to try to make sure there was enough options for removal for like the drafting side of things, making sure there were plenty of options for people to pick up. But I can see like all those also trickle down into like a more constructed format, and that having that too many options can kind of cause some problems there. Some of you have said you wanted to see some more unique cards. Hopefully the cards I am making for set 2 can fulfill that, but definitely going to be looking into making some more interesting, more fun types of effects for future sets. I kind of want to adjust that. Kind of in a similar vein, there's the question of what kinds of changes you would make to the Myo Mashup TCG. Some of you said to want some more cards, but which kind of ties in with the need for more interesting cards with more unique effects on them. One thing I neglect to mention from the previous question, was some people disliked that the one cost characters were not quite as good. And this also kind of ties into some of the changes that some of you wanted to make. One of those that could potentially make some of the one cost characters a little better is making that the player going first can attack on turn 1. It would definitely make some of the more offense based one cost characters a little better in that. Also kind of adjusting to also provide some more reward for going wide, as currently there's only the only real reason you would do so, as they pointed out, was having some insurance in case one of your characters gets removed, though an Apocalypse now can easily remove all characters from the board. But I definitely am looking into more ways to go wide. It kind of ties into that whole how having one attack per turn can be good. It can also cause kind of has its own downsides, and the lack of reward for going wide is one of them. And so I've been trying to experiment in that sense with some other archetypes. The insects from set 2, for example, also are going to have some benefit for going wide as well. So hopefully I can address this a little bit with some of the other archetypes in the game and have a mix of like some archetypes rely on one character, others rely on going wide, others rely on some other things too. And I've also got some other rule suggestions starting with 30 life instead of 40 and changing how the mulligan works. I'm also just suggesting a singleton format as another way to play the game, which is definitely cool. The original version of this game, the Make Your Own Card game, was originally designed as a singleton format, so I definitely want to introduce a format like that to this game, but I want to make sure there's more variety for the different archetypes as far as cards they can use before I make that a reality. And I think going back to this whole go wide thing too, also kind of, which ties back into how the attack system works, I wanted to kind of my vision was having some cards that were attackers, some cards that were more for support, and so cards would have different roles and you'd have to think a little more about which cards you commit to the board, but I think I could definitely push or pull some of these design choices in different directions, like maybe make some of the more supporting characters a bit more defensive so that they're not quite as easy to remove by battle. And that's definitely something I can look into, just kind of make it clear that these cards are more support focused, some are more attack focused, that sort of thing. And then the final question I want to address is, what cards would you add to a ban list if I did implement one? And the most overwhelming response I got among all these was Destiny. For those who don't know, Destiny is the 7-cost, 7/7 spirit character with the ability to, when she is put into play, reveal the top 7 cards of your deck, and then you get to choose one of them to free play. You can't choose any other cards named Destiny, but having that extra bit of value of getting to play a free character is always going to be good no matter what the game is. So that's definitely a card I am considering. I've got a few. People were a bit more divided on what other cards should be limited. I've gotten requests for Steady Shot, Burst Attack, as well as cards like Shirkdale, which I definitely, after seeing the tournament, do think that Shirkdale is a little bit too strong for its cost, so maybe that's a card I look into adjusting as well, so we will see about that. Other cards include Delta Warriors, Arrow and Flora Sky, and Lock as well, so I definitely want to make some changes. So I think by this time next week I should have it all figured out for which cards I want to limit and things of that nature. But that about does it for this little analyst discussion. I want to thank you very much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I've got my draft coming up, so that's going to be coming up on the 11th, so I look forward to seeing some of you there. If you want to participate, you can let me know in the Discord. I've also got the contest still going on until the 19th, and I should have the results for that very soon, and set 2 is also almost done. I've got just a few cards left to fully make, and I still have to upload them all to Untap, but still moving quite along, and I look forward to sharing all the cards with you. I'm going to do another video going over all the cards in set 2 once I have them all done. And so I look forward to seeing you in my next video, and take care.